on FM and AM 1160. He is Mark Magolis, the principal at Marion Center High. Our conversation is brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Good to have you here in the studio with us here today. We don't normally get our Marion Center folks in studio. This is good.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Appreciate being here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, I've talked with other school districts and school representatives here this week. It just happens that the schedule lines up that way this week. As we get toward the second half of the year, and we begin to look forward toward some of those springtime events, we've still got a January and February to get through, and that can be difficult for kids, can't it? Especially coming off the holidays.
It absolutely can. You know, it's wonderful to have breaks and holidays where we can spend time with our family and cherish our traditions, but then getting kids back into a routine, and even our staff and myself, it is a challenge. But here we are, middle of January already, and we're coming up on the end of the second grading period, ready to start our third 9 weeks here very soon. And we're really getting into our curriculum and our teaching and our activities, and there's just a whole host of things that happen at schools. And there's no time off once we get back from the holidays, that's for sure.
Yeah. Are there special things that you do at the beginning, right after that Christmas break, sort of to get them back into the flow?
We don't really. Our teachers do a nice job at transitioning our kids in. We had a 4-day week last week, and the biggest thing is just kind of getting them back into the expectations, just as far as their behavior and their academics and things of that nature, just reassuring them of what our structure and our plans are. And then we're off and running.
Last year, of course, was when school districts really got back to in-person pretty much full-time. Now, you at Marion Center, you were able to get back a little bit sooner than a lot of school districts. And I'm sure that really played well for you, because we're learning even more, and I'm sure the studies are out there, and you're getting your eyes on some of them as well. That lack of socialization could really be a setback for kids.
Yeah, it really can. We talk a lot about the educational loss that COVID and being out of the physical building has been a detriment to our students, but the socialization has been a big part of it as well. With technology, whether it's internet, phone, game systems, we have every excuse to not be together, and so it is a challenge when we're trying to collaborate and socialize and learn together and sometimes just coexist together. So being in the building, learning how to get along with each other and experiences the differences, it has been a challenge. But our kids do a fantastic job with that. Our staff does a fantastic job with that. And that is something that we continue to work on, because we're all very different and we all come from different viewpoints in life. But that's the way the world is. And we need to learn how to manage through that and overcome those differences and work towards a common goal.
I think it's kind of interesting as well. And you have probably one of the older buildings in all of Indiana County. And when that building was built, people were a heck of a lot smaller. So the hallways were a heck of a lot less cramped.
Yes.
It's tight quarters there at Marion Center.
It is, and it's, if you've never been to our building, it's very unique. We have first and a second floor, and it's mostly linear. It's just basically straight hallways, and we have little annex off on either end. But they're very narrow hallways, very narrow stairwells, and it gets very tight. And a lot of people think Marion Center is very small as far as population. We have just under 600 students in our building, but the hallways are very crowded. They really are.
Geographically, it's one of the bigger districts, though. I
mean, it is. Geographically, it is quite large, yes.
Yeah. That being the case, it takes a certain amount of coordination to get everybody there in time, and the school buses and everything. Being located exactly where you are along a highway there is also different than a lot of schools. But you managed to pull it off. That's just, you've been doing it for years.
We do, but I mean, that's a testament to our transportation director and especially our bus drivers. They go out, even a day like today where you might not think that it's bad outside. A lot of our drivers are kind of like dirt roads that may be frozen over, and you never know when you might find an ice patch or something like that. So most of our routes are well under an hour, but for our students to arrive safely every day and to get home safely every day because of the geographical area of our district, it is quite remarkable. And so I commend them, and I thank them any chance I get.
Let's get into the academics at Marion Center here for the coming spring term.
Yeah.
The winter and spring are still ahead of us, and I'm sure that you set academic goals.
Oh, yeah.
Within the school district, and they don't always have to do with standardized tests and state standards and things of that nature. But just as Marion Center principal, there are things that you'd like to see done in terms of not just scores, but academic progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously the scores are what we all hear about and what's provided in the media, and that is something that we start with. But we really got to get into it. What is our curriculum? What's our pacing? What are the goals and objectives by the state relative to our curriculum, and how best do we approach that? And, I was thinking coming in here today how much it has changed in just the last couple of years, where technology was kind of the driver of our curriculum and our instruction, but now it's more of a co-pilot if it isn't just a passenger. And so we've really gotten back to the teachers taking the lead, the human element of it, and then taking a closer look at exactly what should we be teaching, how should that be done, and ensuring that our staff is supported and they have the things that they need to best educate our students.
And it's interesting that you say that, because people might not have that impression. They might say it's all technology now, and what do you even need teachers for?
No, I mean, I'm a firm believer. I taught for 17 years, and I'm a firm believer in that relationship. That is key. There is a place for technology, and there's a role for it in education in our lives. But without that human connection, I really don't see how a student can become the best educated and prepared citizen for this world without that teacher in that classroom.
Yeah, and we're certainly looking for communication skills. The
Yes,
fact that a
the soft
teacher is
skills.
able to communicate is something that kids need to learn too.
Yeah. Yeah, and another variable too is there's a lot of things going on in our students' lives today that maybe I know that I've been involved in education for almost 25 years, and when I first came into the business, things were very different than they are now. And it's more than just curriculum. It's more than just a textbook. There's a lot of other social emotional components to a teacher and education, and how we're trying to best prepare our students for the workforce and for their future.
Yeah. Those skills that just the ability to stand in front of a classroom and to teach
Right.
is a teaching tool that can help kids to learn how they can make presentations, how they can communicate with others within the
Exactly.
workplace. You mentioned soft skills, and I know Chamber of Commerce has worked with all of our Indiana County schools. I think there's, yes, a new emphasis on it, but there's also a new realization of how important they are in today's work environment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I have two young kids of my own, and their communication sometimes with like a text message or something, and we don't really think much about it, just another form of communication. But there is something with technology, learning how to write an appropriate email, or learning how to communicate on the phone with somebody, or to do an interview such as this. So learning how to be present and be prepared, and all the things that we tend to overlook in education because we do think it's about math and ELA, but those soft skills are I believe equally as important to a student's overall success as they go out into the workforce. Because if you show up late and you're not prepared and you can't communicate and you don't talk to your boss, you may not have that job anymore. So all those things are very important and things that we're starting to really emphasize at Marion Center.
As education moves forward into the next 5 or 10 years, you attend all the seminars. you know what's coming and where the bent is on education in America. Are you pretty happy with the progress that Marion Center is making?
Yeah, we are. I was, again, thinking about this on the way in. We do a lot of good things at Marion Center, and as the principal there, I want to make them even better. And when I say that, we're looking at the future and what's coming, and what can we do now to prepare for that. And I really think that we're on the right track. I think we have a lot of great programs. We have an amazing staff, and we have the support that we need to meet the demands of education now with our students and in the future. And we do have goals and plans that we're working towards over the next several years to address those.
So much emphasis on STEAM classes.
Yeah.
And necessarily so with
Yep.
the way that the world is going.
Yeah.
But there's a place for the old time skills too. Isn't
Oh,
there?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that is one of the things, and I know that wasn't your question, but we have added a robotics program at the high school last year. We did that, and we're blending that in with our ag program a little bit, where we have a plasma cutter, and so the robotics and the ag program are kind of blending together, and we have kids that are coming across from more of a STEAM concept and the ag concept and how they work together to produce things for our community and maybe even beyond that in the near future. But yeah, I mean, there are certain fundamentals of education and certain fundamentals of just work ethic that we continue to emphasize. So it's kind of a blend of the old versus the new.
Yeah, and necessarily so, again, because that's the way the world is going. Yeah. Well, it's pretty exciting, I think, right now to be in the education world.
Oh, it's exciting.
There are challenges.
No doubt.
I know staffing challenges, just like every other school district.
Yeah.
You're challenged by that as well,
Yeah.
finding adequate resources and getting the people actually in the building. Teachers, finding teachers is not an easy thing these days.
It is not, and it is unfortunate. I mean, I remember when years ago when I came out of college, like you couldn't get a job because there were just so many applicants and it was very difficult. And now we're finding that it's very difficult to get applicants. And I know it all comes in waves, and eventually we'll get students from university that are going to come back, and it's just something that we have to sustain and continue to put value back into public education and what we do and the difference that we make. And people will come back, and we'll be all right.
Oh, it's terrific stuff going on right now at Marion Center. Mark, thanks so much for coming in to visit with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Hey, Fox News is up next, and then it's the Brian Kilmeade Show on this Wednesday morning.